there. Nolan Jones was promoted this weekend. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome in to FBT in 5. As always, make sure to follow and stream us on Spotify. Today is Monday, July 11th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Scott White. And let's talk about Nolan Jones, who was promoted by the Guardians. Former top-ish prospect, kind of fell back down and was having a good season this year. But he had a good weekend, Scott. He hit a mammoth home run, nearly 460 feet, 17% rostered. He's widely available. Where, if anywhere, are you looking to add Nolan Jones?
Well, I think the most attractive thing about Nolan Jones is that although he's playing outfield now for Cleveland, he remains third base eligible. And that's been a pretty miserable position, a position where a lot of people, I'm sure, still aren't satisfied with who they have filling that spot. So if you're in that place at third base, then I think you take a shot on the upside of Nolan Jones. I'm pretty skeptical about how useful he's going to be. You mentioned he fell off the map as a prospect last year. Bad numbers at AAA. Season ended early because of ankle surgery. This season started late because he was still recovering from that surgery. Only got 23 games at AAA, but the performance was better. He does have good raw power, puts the ball on the ground too much to make good on it, and also has had issues with strikeouts. But he walks a lot, has already walked 3 times. And so if he is able to get the most out of that raw power, now that he's up in the majors, he could turn into something. I also am interested in seeing how much Nolan Jones plays against left-handers because, first 3 games were all against righties. So of course he started. We'll see what happens when a lefty's on the mound though.
And especially this week, if you need a hitter, a third baseman, the Guardians have 8 home games. They're top 5 in Scott's.
And they might all be against righties too. So
yeah, that's great for him.
Yeah.
Waiver wire pitchers from this weekend. Hunter Greene could be available in some shallower leagues. He's 74% rostered. He threw 6 innings of 1-run ball with 9 strikeouts at home against the Tampa Bay Rays. Alex Wood had one of his best starts of the season. He was at the Padres, 7 shutout with 8 strikeouts. And then REID Detmers returned to the Angels, and he had a great start at the Orioles, 6 shutout with 7 strikeouts, and completely changed his pitch mix. He was throwing the slider nearly 40% of the time, and the velocity was up on the pitch. So very, very interested in him. 26% rostered. Scott, how are you ranking these 3? Greene, Wood, and Detmers.
I think I would rank them right in the order you have them, which isn't meant to be a knock on REID Detmers. I think this start was more encouraging even than the no-hitter he threw earlier in the year, because he basically didn't have the slider early on. That's his put-away pitch, and he didn't have it. He wasn't throwing it nearly as often as you pointed out. He wasn't throwing it nearly as hard. He got sent down. He found an issue mechanically that had kept that slider from living up to its potential, and then he comes back throwing it 40% of the time. That charts a new course for REID Detmers. We could see improved production from him going forward. But I also liked what we saw from Hunter Greene this weekend, where he averaged over 100 miles per hour on his fastball. It was the second most 100+ mile per hour pitches any pitcher's ever thrown. Greene's also first on that list, by the way. But still, it was one of his best demonstrations of the fastball he's had so far. Got double-digit swinging strikes with it. It normally hasn't been a big swing and miss pitch for him, as hard as it is. And he, according to the Cincinnati Enquirer, has taken to strength training in between starts to keep that velocity up, keep it going deep into games. He's also made his slider into more like 2 different pitches, one more like a cutter, one more like a sweeping slider. And so we're seeing the whiffs take off for Hunter Greene, and that suggests a very high ceiling that hopefully he can meet in the second half.
All right. Are you looking to drop any of these pitchers for any of the ones that I just mentioned? MacKenzie, Gore, he continues to struggle. The ERA now climbs up over 4 for the season. Martin Perez, his last 6 starts, he has an ERA that's approaching 5. And Jameson, Taillon's last 7 starts, he has an ERA approaching 7. So, Scott, what do you think? Would you drop Gore, Martin Perez, Jameson, Taillon?
So I would be fine dropping Taillon for any of those 3. I would be fine. I think I'd be fine dropping Gore too. I do still think there's a lot of upside there, but he doesn't seem right. I think his mechanical issues that he battled in the minors last year has caused him to lose his prospect standing. I think they're rearing their ugly head again. Velocity being down, control being down during this rough stretch. And it wouldn't surprise me if he got sent down to the minors. So I think I'd be okay dropping him too. The other one, Martin Perez, I'd be reluctant to do that. I know he's had a hard time recently, and I do think he was pitching over his head early on. It wouldn't surprise me if we're to the point of dropping him, but like the overall numbers still look spectacular because of how good he was early in the year. I mean, you look at points leagues, he's outscored guys like Zach Wheeler and Yu Darvish, even now, ones we would never consider dropping, of course. So I think if only for that reason, you need to hold on to Martin Perez a little longer, see if he can bounce back.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, your smart speakers, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.